Okay. Good morning, everybody. Lovely to be with you all here today. You all know the words to this. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. This beautiful, beautiful, beautiful day. This beautiful, beautiful, beautiful day. Thank you for my friends, Spirit. Thank you for my friends. Thank you for my friends, Spirit. Thank you for my friends. My wonderful, wonderful, wonderful friends. My wonderful, wonderful, wonderful friends. One more. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. This beautiful, beautiful, beautiful day. This beautiful, beautiful, beautiful day.
And thank you, Lillian and Doug, for coming down the mountain this morning and joining us. I'm Reverend Bonnie, the community spiritual leader here this morning. And we are having a little bit of a different morning. If you haven't seen the newsletter, I'm just letting you know that Marilyn and Randy's youngest son passed away this last week. So that's why, fortunately, we have backup musicians that are fabulous, and they have been willing to step in, and we have had practitioners and other folks step in to help them. We are collecting collection to help them with the costs of this experience, in addition to trying to get the other two kids here for a memorial. They're thinking now the memorial will be more like closer to Thanksgiving, so we have some time. So if you have something you want to offer to them, I have an envelope this morning, and then we'll continue to collect as we need to. So the other thing that they've asked, and that's why I'm making the announcement here, it is so hard, believe me. So it's hard for me to even say this. It's hard to do our job when there's people giving us condolences before we have to get up here and speak, and especially sing. So if you can hold those condolences for cards or texts, they're texting pretty well. Phone calls, you won't get an answer. But cards or texts, but not on Sunday. They're going to try and come back and do music, and they just need us to let them do their job. They can't sing, just like I can barely speak when the tears come. So if you can keep that in mind, we appreciate it. And we're just going to uphold them in light and love as they go through this experience. That being said, I'm going to shift gears a bit. One of the things I know is that this community is amazing. We come step up for each other, we support each other, and a lot of how we get to know each other is through the classes that we take together. And even with COVID, we've had a number of classes take place. Some of it people joined over Zoom, some we did socially distanced in this room. And so I have several certificates to give out to those who continued to bond with each other and learn throughout this last it's about 9 months that these different classes took place. So I'm just going to call people forward. Judy, would you please come up so you can hand these to them? You can just line up in front here. Sarah Benson, Revealing Wholeness and Exploring Roots. There's 2 there for you. Woohoo! And we'll just make a line here for a moment. Teresa Valenzuela, Revealing Wholeness. Doug Benson, Revealing Wholeness. Gretchen Blay, Exploring Roots. And Gretchen's here somewhere. There she is. Nancy Walzak, Mental Equivalence. Geneva Collins did Mental Equivalence. Kathleen Wolf, Mental Equivalence. Come up here, Nancy. Nancy. Jennifer, do you have your phone on you? Can you get a picture of all these folks? Sylvie Peel, Mental Equivalence. And Diego's picking it up for her. Karen Boyer, you want to just stay up here, Diego? Karen, mental equivalence. We'll do a quick come together, and then you can separate again so Jennifer can get a picture of you all. Yay, we're smiling behind our masks. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And now I'm going to turn it over to your practitioner in service.
Good morning. I'm Bob Greer. I'm your practitioner in service. I'm also your board president, so I'm going to do a few announcements here. Well, I think first of all, I'll do the board report from last week. We met last week. It was one of the shorter ones we've had. Yay! Sometimes they turn into marathons. But we've taken care of a lot of business, and so we got a little break in that. You'll notice that that big gaping hole is gone in the ceiling over there. We hope that we have finally solved that issue. We'll know the next time we get a good rain. So keep holding that our roof in consciousness during the next rain. But I feel real confident that we're finally getting on with that. It's been an ongoing issue, as you know. We talked about one of the improvements we're going to do is a banister. Well, we have a banister. I haven't put it up yet, but maybe by next week it'll be right over here. And we are continuing to work on the building project, which is the replacing these windows out front and re-stucco and painting the building. It's going to be a big one, and we've been working with one of our members here. David Peterson is helping me immensely in that project, and I'm hoping to have some new, Oh, and Doug, yes, who drew up the specs for us, which has been huge, and we're hoping to have the beginnings of an honest, hard quote that we can start working with, and more will be revealed on that by next month, I hope. That's the plan. We are a little update on our finances. Just, we had that $20,000 city grant that we got last spring, and we've been able to hold on to a chunk of that. We have about 11,000 of that that's not been spent, so we've stuck it away in our savings account where we are going to try really hard not to touch it, along with some additional funds that have been donated, mostly for the idea of that would be a seed to get our window project going. So well, hopefully that will continue to evolve and come about. I'm seeing it happening. So we are, as far as the rest of the board meeting, Reverend Bonnie's going to be attending a practitioner or a minister conference, virtually. Yes. And we're happy that she can do that. Also, we have an upcoming Centers for Spiritual Living is having their annual convention, gathering, convention, whatever, and it's both in person and hybrid.
Well, the conference is in person. But if you want to be somebody to vote, we need 2 more voters, so we can take somebody who's a member. You can vote virtually and just attend the business meeting virtually and not have to go to the conference. That's how they're setting it up.
Yeah, so we still have a couple of slots. If anybody has a calling to be in part of that, just see myself or Bonnie F., and we'll get you some information on how you can do that from home. You don't have to go. The conference is in
Indian Wells, California.
Indian Wells. There's a casino there. I've been to it. Anyway, it's not that far, It might not be a bad little trip. So, other than that, Bonnie is working on her annual report back to home office, and all is well. We allowed our space out there to be used for community causes, and we have a new 12-step meeting starting here on Wednesday nights. It started last Wednesday. It's a young people's group, and really looking forward to having them. And speaking for someone who's involved in that, I really appreciate the fact that we are allowed to use that space. It's perfect for what we do, and it's really conveniently located here in the heart of Las Cruces. So with that, I think I'll move on to the announcements. Let's see here. I want to welcome anyone visiting for the first time. Please help yourself to a packet of information in the back table there. We're glad you're here. Please make sure that your phones are on vibrate or silent. That's a note for myself, because I'm usually the guy that doesn't do that. And as a reminder, we have a practitioner-led meditation at the beginning before each service at 10:15. So if you have a mind, come on in, and a good way to get yourself centered for the rest of the Sunday. And we have spiritual circle discussions back up on Thursdays from 1:30 to 2:30. And we can check out our website and pick up a monthly calendar on the back tables and save the day for events. And we continue to update our website. And on a little side note, I don't even think I've told you this. When you do a search for CSL Las Cruces, the number one thing that typically pops up is CSL Plasma. And I drove by there the other day, and I've noticed they've changed their name. So hopefully, in the not-too-distant future, Centers for Spiritual Living Las Cruces will be at the top of that list and be a lot less confusing. So I've been putting that out in the universe for a while. All right, so we believe in the power of prayer, which we call spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer. If you feel the need to have a prayer, there's prayer requests in the back of the seats. You can fill those out and drop them in the prayer chest, that little box in the back there on the table, and know that a gathering of local New Thought churches and practitioners and ministers meet every Tuesday to pray with you on those, and please take advantage of that. If anyone needs to talk to a practitioner for a short treatment after the service, all you have to do is find one of us in this, and there's a few of us here today, so grateful to have that. I guess with that, it's now time for song, silence, and prayer.
In the silence, there is peace. In the silence, there is unspoken joy. In the silence, there's release from a world full of chaos and noise. So I wait for these precious moments when I hear all that could ever be said, and right here in this holy silence I find God, I find myself. In the silence there is is peace. In the silence, there is unspoken joy. In the silence, there's release from a world full of chaos and noise. So I wait for these precious moments when I hear all that could ever be said, and right here in this holy silence I find God. I find God. I find myself.
So just being right here, right now, in this perfect moment, knowing the full presence of Spirit is right here, in and through each person, in and through every living thing, as it is at all times and in all ways. Just embracing and allowing the perfection of this beautiful day to settle into me, knowing that the peace, love, protection, all good is at the core of my being. And as I claim this for myself, I claim this for each and every person, knowing that each person is connected to the divine at all times. Knowing that this day is truly blessed, knowing that everything unfolds exactly as it's supposed to. I bless this time, I bless this service, and I say, and so it is. So for the reading today, if I didn't misplace it, oh, there it is. This is an excerpt, it's actually something from this month's Science of Mind magazine, which are available in the bookstore, by the way. And it's a great monthly magazine that's been in, publication for 80-something years, I think, 65, something, forever. This is titled The High Road to Happiness, and it's a quote by Ernest Holmes. And it says, "Say to yourself daily, I am one with all the life there is. I am one with all peace. I am one with all good. And I desire that this good shall flow through me to everyone I meet, to bless every situation I find myself in, and to bring peace and happiness to everyone I contact." Your intellect senses this through intuition. Your imagination feels it by divine right. Your inward consciousness knows it through faith. What you are trying to do is awaken your whole being to spiritual awareness. What thought is planted, thought can uproot. The conditions laid down by mental attitudes, whether or not you are conscious of them, can be changed. I'm going to read that last line over. The conditions laid down by mental attitudes, whether or not you are conscious of them, can be changed. If you are experiencing some unhappy condition, you must know that there is nothing in you that attracts this condition, nothing in you that holds it in place, nothing in you that believes it must be this way. Turn your mind entirely from the condition and think in an exactly opposite manner. As you consciously poise yourself in the realization that you live in pure spirit, new power will be born within you. You will find yourself renewed by the divine life, led by the divine intelligence, and guided by divine love. Focus your inward vision on this indwelling harmony, knowing that it is for you to contemplate its perfection, and you will see it manifest in everything you do. And so it is.
When I was a girl, each week, Sunday, we would go to church. Pay attention to the priest. He would read the holy word and consecrate the holy bread. Everyone will kneel and bow. Today, the only difference is everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. When I was in Sunday school, we would learn about the time Moses split the sea in two. Jesus made the water wine. And I remember feeling sad. Miracles don't happen still. But now I can't keep track, 'cause everything's a miracle. Everything's a miracle. Wine from water is not so small, but an even better magic trick is that anything is here at all. So the challenging thing becomes not to look for miracles, but finding where there isn't one. When holy water's rare at best, it barely wet my fingertips, but now I have to hold my breath. I'm swimming in a sea of it. It used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-downs, but now I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. Read a questioning child's face and say it's not a testament. That'd be hard to say. See another new morning come and say it's not a sacrament. I tell you it can't be done. This morning outside I stood, I saw a little red-winged bird shining like a burning bush, singing like a scripture verse. Made me want to bow my head. I remember when the church let out. Oh, how things have changed since then. Everything is holy now. It used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-down, but I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now.
thank you again to Lillian and Doug for coming down the mountain, and everything is holy now, even those things that we might question sometimes as to why they happen or what's going on. So I'm grateful yet again to be here and for their help. Thank you so much. So, what am I doing? Huh? Reaching higher, and what am I riding on? Merry-go-round. Yeah, does anybody remember riding a merry-go-round and reaching for what? Yes, the brass ring. Well, as I started thinking more about this topic of reaching higher, I just kept picturing that experience of riding the merry-go-round and reaching for the brass ring. I loved doing that. That was one of my favorite things. In fact, I think it was so much a part of many of our experiences as children that there's now an idiom that says either reaching for the brass ring or catching a brass ring. And that idiom refers to catching hold of or getting something very desirable, whether it's a prize, a goal, or another opportunity. We can say he went for the brass ring, or she went for the brass ring, or grabbed the brass ring. And so as we focus on reaching higher, we can picture what is it that we're reaching for? What is our brass ring that we are seeking to grab hold of? Over the last couple of weeks, we've mentioned a few things such as getting help or inspiration or guidance from on high. Always remembering that that highest God and that innermost God is one God. And whether we're reaching from a ladder, as Reverend Bram and I both talked about recently, or if we're reaching from that horse for the brass ring, the real important thing is to stay centered over that which keeps us grounded, whether it's the horse, whether it's the ladder. And so as I pictured this, I had many moments this week of just picturing myself on the merry-go-round, going round and round and reaching for that brass ring. I would find myself smiling. Now, I can't see behind your mask, but I do see a few eyes glittering with that memory. It just made me feel happy, just remembering that experience of being on the merry-go-round. And I realized that as a kid, that brought me so much joy, just the repetition. And as an adult, I know that I find comfort sometimes in things just going round and round and staying the same. We've had a lot of that not happening of late. And so I know that for me, a lot of comfort comes from that going around and just knowing I can reach out, grab that brass ring, and go around again. But in the terms of how this is used as an idiom, for those of us who are adults, I realize that catching or grabbing that brass ring refers to something new, a goal, something that someone wants to accomplish, maybe a new adventure. It actually is referring to bringing change into your life, which for me is like, eek, here we go again, that change thing. So the brass ring, sometimes grasping it even takes you off of the merry-go-round instead of giving you another ride around. It takes you into something completely new and different. And so recently, I went online and got myself plane tickets to go back and visit my family in California over Thanksgiving. And when I got done doing that, I closed the computer, and I had a familiar feeling inside of discomfort. It's not total full-blown anxiety, but it just unsettled. And so as I do, I thought, every time I do this, because I have done a number of trips where I've gone online, figured out how to get that plane ticket, and I realized that each time I end up feeling really unsettled and uncomfortable. So I decided to take it into meditation and into my journaling and try and figure out what is going on around that. So as I look back into my childhood, which is what I usually do, is take myself back to, what did trips mean? What did going on a trip mean? Usually my parents planned the itinerary. my mother would make lists and lists and lists of things that we needed to take, because it was usually a car trip and then backpacking. That's what our family did. And they would plan the whole thing. They had the maps. We just were told to pack our backpack and get in the car, go for the ride. And then as I got older, when I was in college, I had been given a AAA membership since the time I started driving at age 16. So I would go down to the local AAA. I would tell the travel agent I want to go here, 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 whatever I wanted to do. They'd make my little TripTik, remember those? They'd do whatever they did. They'd make the phone calls. I'd sit there. They'd get it all together. They'd put it in a little packet and hand it to me, and I would say, thank you. And when they did that, I felt as if it was a done deal. The trip was ready. Everything was in place. And so I realized that on a subconscious level, I think that I somehow took on that belief that plans, especially travel plans, are best made by an expert, by someone else, not by me. And now I'm expected to go online, which is not a place I'm comfortable yet, to find the best price for myself, to figure out which route I'm going to take, and to actually book it for myself. And even though I've been successful at doing that many times, I'm still expected to trust that I did it all correctly, that I've actually planned to go where I want to go, and that when I arrive with no ticket in hand, they're still going to let me get on the plane. Yeah. Even today, it used to be you could even get a boarding pass, so I had a piece of paper at some point. But now people are just using their phones. There's not even any piece of paper that gets in my hand. So I don't start to believe the trip is real until I've gotten past the point of showing whatever I need to show and sitting in my seat, and it's like, okay, I made it. This is the right plane. I'm going to the right place, and it starts to feel real. Until then, it feels surreal. I have a sense of being unsettled all the way, usually till I get through security, then it starts to kind of sink in a bit. So I had an aha as I was contemplating that, and I realized that what I'm missing is something tangible, something that I can hold on to, proof, verification, and make it real. And then I had another aha. I started to think about this as a faith opportunity, and it reminded me of prayer and how it is we teach affirmative prayer or spiritual mind treatment. We don't talk to something out there. Instead, we teach that we speak our prayer in the present tense, as if it is already so, and we give thanks as if it's already here, without anything tangible. And for many people, when I've taught that in classes, that's been a challenge. They're like, well, aren't I, talking myself into something that isn't real? Why am I using the present tense when it's not really here? Isn't that mental gymnastics? And it's like, no, this is the way it works. And I thought, well, Ernest Holmes must have had an idea about virtual tickets long before his time. Because we thank the universe just like we thanked the travel agent for handing us that paper ticket, as if that paper ticket was us walking on the plane. But it wasn't. It was a symbol of the fact that we had essentially made a reservation. And we were still waiting then for time and space to catch up with us, or us to catch up with it, before we actually got on the plane. And so nowadays, as we reach for whatever that brass ring may be, we're reaching for something that is intangible right now, and yet that reaching and grabbing hold in our thoughts and bringing it in and giving thanks and affirming it in the present tense and being grateful throughout that affirmative prayer, that whole idea of mental equivalence is like making that reservation. It's like ordering. How many of us have ordered things online now where you don't have any proof that you've put your money somewhere out there, and you just wait for time and space to bring it to your front door? So, in a way, it's as good as having that brass ring or that paper ticket in our hands when we do an affirmative prayer. So as I thought about it, I went, okay, I get that. I get when I pray that I want to do it in the present tense and as if it is already so, and to give thanks for it. And I realized that I need to be able to apply that same ability to believe to the anxiety that I was feeling around making an order over the internet. That I needed to be able to apply that to this new virtual world of doing business. So years ago, when I learned this form of affirmative prayer, I was able to shift out of that idea of beseeching and actually being able to say it in the present tense and not feel awkward about it, not feeling like I was begging or bargaining, but rather that I was making a statement and I could trust that it was so. And so I needed to now see these virtual tickets as a similar kind of thing, that the purchase is complete, that it is done. And that's the same in affirmative prayer. It's a done deal, and I'm waiting for time and space to catch up. Now, some of you might find it easier to trust your purchases online and buying a ticket online than it is to trust an affirmative prayer. So I hope that as I've given you this analogy, you might have something to think about, to see the similarity in how it is that we're putting that idea out there, we're believing it is so right now, and we're saying thank you. We're saying thank you like we did to the travel agent. And then I realized that I used to talk to God a lot like God was the travel agent. I want to go here, there, do this, do that, you take care of it all. Right? Wait for God to hand me that ticket. And now, part of the training that I've gotten through religious science is I've thought about talking to God in a whole different way. When I do an affirmative prayer, it's God and I are one, so we're avoiding any language that makes our mind think of us as separate. And so I'm thinking, well, how does that work then? How am I able to talk to God, and am I able to talk to God? I know that the God in me as me means that I am now my own travel agent, so to speak. I've had to take back a lot of that responsibility for the booking, the creating, the arranging, what it is I want to see show up in my life, while at the same time turning it over. So there's that balance that's going on. And so I thought about, what does it mean to talk to God? Can we talk to God? I've been pondering that lately. Can we talk to God and still feel and believe our oneness with God? Can we talk to each other and still feel and know and believe in our oneness with each other? Can you talk to yourself without splitting in two? Recently, I received a pamphlet in the mail. It was called Strength and Grace Daily Devotions, and it was published by Guidepost. And many of the stories in there I could relate to. They were showing ways that grace had showed up in people's lives. And I found it inspiring. I was like, I see those synchronicities that happen in our lives and the different ways that the miracles that Lilianne sang about happen in our lives. But in the stories, there was often somebody who was talking to the Lord as if the Lord was separate than them, to something or someone separate than them. And I really, that still makes me feel unsettled. And I thought, well, what is it about talking to God, to the Lord, to something outside of ourselves that we do sort of naturally sometimes, that we want to do? And I thought about the reading I did a couple talks back where Ernest Holmes in Thoughts Are Things said, I give thanks for the silent power which sustains me, and I say to my own mind, you are to believe in this power. So Ernest Holmes talked to himself. He talked to his own mind. And if we can talk to ourselves, can't we talk to God as us, in us? And Ernest Holmes, I believe, believed so strongly in the ability to do that he wrote a book called Can We Talk to God? Great book. You can see I have lots of little notes in here. So I realize that many people are comforted by this idea that the individualized expression of God wants to commune with, talk to that greater universal consciousness, that greater idea of God. And in fact, that's what Holmes talks about in this book. He starts off at the very beginning, first chapter, by saying, can we talk to God? We all know we can talk at God, but it is a different proposition to consider whether we can talk to God. He describes that a little more. Further on, he says, in the new idea of life, and what I think he's talking about is this new thought thing that was happening back when he was lecturing. In the new idea of life, we are thinking of God as a universal principle, intelligence and power, as the essence and energy of being. Further on, he says, we are thinking of God as a universal and infinite being, a perfect law, the immutable law of cause and effect. And in doing this, discarding the ancient idea of a huge person in the nature of deity, we are undoubtedly losing something. We are losing the sense of personal contact with this invisible power, and we are liable to think of God only as law or as an infinite it. And he capitalized infinite it. Now, an infinite it is a very adequate thing in certain respects, but in other respects, it is a very inadequate thing. We could not derive much comfort, pleasure, or joy from talking to the principle of chemical affinity, yet we do derive a great benefit from learning that such a law exists. Neither can we hope to get much satisfaction from thinking of God only as an infinite it. Further on, he says, there must be and there is a universal consciousness which directly responds to our thought and is in contact with it. There are moments when the individual consciousness feels itself merged with the universal. Then it knows and no longer asks for explanations. The heart longs for, the mind comprehends, and the intellect needs such a contact. The influx of divine ideas stimulating the will to divine purposefulness. It is fundamental to our belief that there is a presence in the universe with which we may consciously communicate and which will consciously respond to such communication. So as I thought about that, how do we then talk to God? How do we talk to that internal travel agent and connect with that universal consciousness so that we don't start feeling separate from and yet at the same time recognize our connection and that there's something greater out there working in and through us? And I realize that we're not the only ones, actually, or at least I'm not the only one questioning that. I don't know about you. But for me, I got another affirmation out of the Unity magazine. This is September, October of this year, where someone wrote in to Reverend Thomas Shepard and said, Dear Tom, I need a new concept of God. Through the years, I believe that God is responsive to me personally. At this moment, I don't know whether my communications are being answered, or if we are each a part of a creation in which the Creator is moving in us only as part of a divine plan. He had a little more to his question, but the answer is what I really got a lot out of. He said, some unity thinkers, and we could say some new thought thinkers in general, say there is no God out there to respond to anyone. Buddhists and other non-theistic religionists generally agree. The universe is a divine energy, and we outpicture that divinity in a finite locust. Then he says, okay, I get the idea, and I generally agree there is no bearded white guy in the sky who whimsically answers prayers like the sole survivor of a race of Olympian deities. I was like, yeah. Yet, when I think about the awesome majesty of the cosmos, something in my bones whispers, thank you. If you've read my books, he said, you know I believe it's okay for my part of the divine to commune with, give thanks to, ask forgiveness from, yeah, I need it, he says, and worship the rest of the divine energy out there. So I just thought that was a beautiful way of putting how it is we can commune with God. So I continued to contemplate this, and of course, you know by now that my mind can be a little dangerous at times. I started thinking about what it's like when you get stuck on one of those phone calls when you're trying to do business with a company, and you push this button and that button, and you finally get a live person who doesn't speak complete English and doesn't understand what you're saying, and you can't get your point across. Anybody been there? And you're going round and round and round, and you finally say, let me speak to your supervisor. Or I want to talk to the manager. You go to the top dog, so to speak. And when you finally say that, usually you get better and faster results. And I think many of us are familiar with and even have done or have had or make use of all kinds of tools that help us to gain guidance from on high as we think of it. We find ways that'll help us plan our itinerary for life, will help us to determine what that brass ring is that we're reaching for. There's a variety of ways that we do that. We can reach for information from on high through all kinds of forms of divination, whether it's tarot, pendulums, astrology, psychics, priests, other intercessories. And Holmes never said any of that was wrong. That's not wrong. But he did say, and I want you to know, that you yourself can go directly in and say, I want to speak to the CEO now. I want to speak to your supervisor. I want to talk directly to God. And in the Science of Mind text on page 272, Ernest Holmes said, insofar as we are going to make this thing work, it is because we contact universal laws which run through every age and race and which answer every person. If we can see this, we shall be able to do away with a great deal of superstition and ignorance. Let each individual immediately and directly and in his own integrity approach the law that is. There is no medium between us and the universal mind except our own thought. In such degree as we place a medium, we have to absorb that medium before we can make a direct approach. The Bible says there's no mediator between God and man except the Christ, and the Christ means the truth about ourselves, that Christ consciousness. So if we have to make a choice, if you're trying to figure out where you want to go, what's that brass ring, and we feel we do not know which or what to choose, we must be still in our own consciousness and know that the Spirit within us knows which of these ways is the right and most constructive way and will guide us. So can we talk to God? As we reach higher and grasp for that brass ring, whatever that might be in your life, whether you're seeking guidance, inner peace, inspiration, a new adventure, or even comfort. Imagine that you're on the phone. Take yourself into that inner space, go within, and like Holmes said, mind, you need to do this. You can say, let me speak to your manager. Imagine asking for that direct contact. And no matter what your brass ring may be, whether you're getting another free ride to go around the merry-go-round or whether you're getting a ticket off the merry-go-round, affirmative prayer is your virtual ticket. It is that thing which you can count on to help you create where it is that you want to go and what it is you want to see in your life. And then you allow time and space to catch up with the form and the manifestation. Ernest Holmes said at the end, near the end of the book, Can We Talk to God? I believe in the brother and sisterhood of humanity, the parenthood of God, and the unity binding all together in one perfect whole. I believe the Spirit is in the wind and the wave and manifests its presence throughout all nature, but most completely through our own minds and in our hearts. It proclaims our livingness and its lovingness. So today, I'm picturing grasping that brass ring of knowing and bringing it into my heart space so that we all can picture that together. Knowing that Mary Lynn and Randy's son, that my son, that Amy's son, Erica's son, and all those sons and daughters who have left this planet out of order, as they call it, and all of those beloveds in our lives, whether it's grandparents, parents, friends, other family members, who are no longer riding this merry-go-round with us, I picture them now on their own merry-go-round, reaching higher and higher for another brass ring and another free ride somewhere. And so it is. And so, will the practitioners please surround this room with your love? And I'm so grateful, I will say once again, to the practitioners who've stepped up to be of service at this time in Mary Lynn and Randy's life and who've been there for so many of us. We have an amazing community that supports each other. Please know that. If you need anything, give us a call. And look at how many practitioners are surrounding this room today. So let's just picture in our mind's eye, whatever it is, that brass ring in your life, know that that spirit within you, the manager, the CEO of your life, inspires you to reach out and grasp hold at just the right time, inspires you to take steps in whatever way at exactly the right moment, helps you line up whatever the itinerary is for your life as you continue to move forward. We see God moving in and through each and every individual. And all those who have left this planet this year, we just see them uplifted to their next yet and highest yet to be. We hold those who are left here behind in our hearts, surrounding them with the love that we experience of God moving through us to them and back. I'm grateful for community. I'm grateful for this community and the love that moves through all of us for each other here. No matter what it might look like, no matter what the ride might be, we're here for each other, and I am so grateful for that love and inspiration. And so as we uplift all these beloveds, as we feel the love in our own hearts, we give thanks. We give thanks now in the present. We give thanks in great gratitude for what is and what is yet to be as time and space catches up. So I release these words into that law that supports us and says yes as we move forward, knowing that it is good, knowing that it is so, and that I have that virtual ticket in hand, as together we say, and so it is. Thank you all so much. Thank you, practitioners. So I had already picked a song for today that Mary Lynn and Randy were going to try and learn, but we have it on a CD. It's by Eddie Watkins. He's a musician that performs at a lot of our conferences of late. Fabulous guy. We really love him when we're there. And so I hope you enjoy it. It's a little different to have a CD, but enjoy.
Am I strong enough to bear the burdens that sometimes come living this thing called life? Am I wise enough to make the right decisions when I'm standing at the fork in the road? Sometimes I wonder and ponder, only to realize I'm not alone and there's nothing I have to do on my own, because I am the place where God is, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God is, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. Will I have enough to do the things I need to do to take care of myself. Will I have the health of mind and body to live a life of grace and wholeness? Sometimes I wonder and ponder, only to realize I'm not alone and there's nothing I have to do on my own, because I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place. I am the place where God. You are the place. Moves and breathes and has we its are being. The place. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place. I am the place where God. You are the place.
Isn't that great? Yeah. I am the place where God shows up. That's been going through my head all week. So you can find him on YouTube if you want to look up more of his music, and you can find that on YouTube as well. Eddie Watkins. And he's part of our New Thought movement. We're so grateful for his music. And again, grateful to our musicians today as well. So at this time is when we normally do our collection, and as we've been doing since June, you've got plates at either door. Actually, is there one there, Jennifer, or do we need to put one there? Yeah, thank you. And we are continuing to tithe, and as Bob shared with us, we're continuing to be an abundant community, and we're so grateful to continue our thriving and being and supporting each other. It's just, I just overflow with gratitude, and I don't know how to say it any other way. So thank you. This month, 10% of what comes through the center is being tithed to Southern New Mexico Pride, which seeks to provide the LGBT community with events and activities that are designed to unify our community. We strive to promote tolerance between the LGBT community and the community at large, and to be a resource for those seeking greater information and fellowship in our community. And in October, on the 2nd of October, we will have 2 tables at the Pride celebration downtown on the plaza. We are looking for folks that want to help us set up, that want to sit there with us and greet people and share information about who we are. And we will also have things from our bookstore for sale. And then we'll need people to help close up. So if any of you are late nighters, we could use some help getting closer to the end of that as well. It's an evening event. So let us know if you want to help. But 10% is going to go to support that effort of the Southern New Mexico Pride. So please repeat after me. Divine love through me.
Divine love through me
Blesses and multiplies.
blesses and multiplies
All that I have.
all that I have,
All that I give.
all that I give,
And all that I receive.
and all that I receive.
Thank you, God, in me.
Thank you, God.
And so it is.
So it is.
And we are
So
so
it is.
blessed. And so it is.
And in the nature in which Karen Drucker originally wrote this, we're going to sing I Am So Blessed this morning. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
Yes. Go ahead. You can clap. We are so blessed. We are. Thank you so much again to you guys for coming down And so just take with you, I hope, that visual of reaching for your brass ring and know that it's already present, it's already so, in that great cosmos, that great mind of God. As we stand together and just bless each other and uplift Mary Lynn and Randy right now, and just send them all kinds of love.
And we'll do our closing song just as you're pretty used to hearing it.
Yeah.
Honest. We'll have a little musical interlude while a computer technician is sorting out.
Mary Lynn will be glad to know it's not just her that can't get that thing to go.
Here we go. I leave here in peace. I step out in love. I know everything I need is part of me, and I will not speak until I first think. Is it kind and true and needed? One life, God's life, my life now. One life, God's life, my life now. I leave here in peace. I step out in love. I know everything I need is part of me, and I will not speak until I first think. Is it kind and true and needed? One life, God's life, my life now. One life, God's life, my life now. One life, God's life, my life now.
Thank you. And we will have a new member orientation. If any of you are not members yet and want to join me in my office in about 20 minutes, we'll have a new member orientation. Thank you.